Welcome, Fight Frogs. Today we're going to be bringing you fight results and breakdown of UFC Fight Night Qatar between Arman Sarukian versus Dan Hooker. What really happened? So let's hop onto the lily pad of violence and find out together. Let's start at the top of the four fights of the prelims and then talk about the main card. Let's hop right into it. Break down Abdurrahman Yakayev against Rafael Kuchera. Could these names be any harder to say? Just to break that down in the first place. Now, Abdurrahman Yakayev really impressed me this week. Unlike Sursakayev last week, he was a tremendous favorite in this fight, and he really impressed. He finished the fight in, I believe, 40 seconds with a TKO knockout, or I'm sorry, a submission. It was about to be a TKO knockout. He ended it with a rear naked choke. But basically, he pummeled the dude. The guy had no chance. He was completely overwhelmed. He was completely overclassed. That Sursakayev is how you demonstrate being a tremendous favorite on the Las Vegas picks. You go out and you show out. So really, if we're going to talk about, eventually we're going to be talking about no time. I called Yakayev in this situation, less time. So let's move right on to the next prelim fight against Alex Perez against Asu Amanbayev. This was a really good fight. This was a dog fight. It went all 3 rounds, but in the end, I think Asu Amanbayev had a little bit more levels to the games that he had. Just breaking down, looking at the overall strikes, Alex Perez had a hell of a fight. He landed 84 total strikes, 40 significant strikes, and more strikes overall than Amanbayev did. However, in the end, the difference was the grappling. Asu Amanbayev was able to get the submission in early round 3, basically taking away a pretty clean finish. Even though I thought it was a close fight, I thought he really did separate himself in terms of the levels. There's levels to this game. Moving right into Nick Dalby against Sagid Azagamadov. I don't think I did that one right. Let's just move along off of that. Either way, Nicholas Dalby really impressed me in this fight. I had Izagamayev and Dalby, and this was a dogfight all the way to the end. I thought it could have gone either way, but Dalby finished with a gritty W. I think he was kind of surprised when he won at the end. It could have gone either way, I believe. There was a lot of takedowns on Sagid's part, so great win by Dalby there. Now this was a big one. This was Bogdan Grad against Luke Riley. Now, first of all, Bogdan Rad, he looks exactly like Krillin from Dragon Ball Z, so that threw me off a little bit. So I thought maybe he had a chance because he got out there and he was dogging it a bit at the first. And I was like, man, Krillin, you never go against the Dragon Ball Z guys. They got a lot of training, Goku and all that, right? So, but Luke Riley prevailed in the end. He was able to hit him with a really nice hook, cleaned him up with a knockout finish. It was a brilliant finish. Luke Riley really looked impressive. He had Paddy Pimblett in his corner. Paddy Pimblett was super stoked for him to get that W, and it's really nice to see these Liverpool guys support each other as much as they do. As far as the prelims go, my frog dog of the night is going to go to Yakayev for dog walking the guy. Just like he should have, but he really impressed me. He came out, he landed a head kick. He was bombing on him. He got right to the back, and he finished with a quick submission within 40 seconds. So we're going to go with less time Yakayev on the frog dog of the night on that one. Let's talk about the main card. The main card was absolutely stacked. There was a little bit of moving parts going around, right? We had Ulanbekov against Hiraguchi get moved to the main card. And there was also Amanbayev, who was originally on the main card, got moved to the prelims. So I'd like I'd like to know a little bit more of the behind the scenes on that. But either way, we got a really interesting fight between Ulanbekov and Horiguchi. I had Ulanbekov in this one. I thought that with Islam Makhachev in his background and just being a Dagestani guy, again, I'm a big supporter of the grapplers, wrestlers. Sometimes, like I said, I need to go with my mind and not my heart. So in this case, Horiguchi was able to really impress me. He beat the dog shit out of Ulanbekov. He dog walked him like the entire fight. He was significantly shorter as well. Like it was really cool. He had a cool post-fight press conference. He's a super interesting guy. He said he was going to beat off the next dude for sure. So we're going to see what happens there. That could get interesting, you know. But I got Horiguchi, man. I'm high on this guy. He's a little beast, dude. He's just a little Chinese beast. So he's a guy to look out for in the future. And I think he's a really exciting prospect. And he really had an impressive fight today. He really dog walked Ulanbekov. That was great. Stay hydrated. Now, this was the one where we had a little bit of movement. We had Waldo Cortez Acosta filling in for, man, who was it originally? We had Gazayev against, how am I blanking on this one all of a sudden? Spivak, that's what it was. Sergey Spivak. And originally I had Gazayev with the W over Spivak, but then when Waldo Cortez Acosta got scooped in kind of last second, I switched my bet to Waldo Costa or Cortez, and that was a hell of a pick. He really impressed me with this one. He was super impressive, also super funny on the post-fight press conference. He got poked in the eye just a couple of weeks ago, and he came out with the Pirate's eye, and he gave it to Michael Bisping. It was a hell of a moment. I think Michael Bisping ended up going home with it. He needs it more than anybody, right? But yeah, Cortez Acosta, man, that guy's a beast. If he puts hands on you, you're probably going to go to sleep. Gazayev was putting pressure on him early in the fight. He was backing him up to the fence, and he was letting bombs go. He was really letting it fly. But Cortez Acosta had good head movement, and he was able to turn his head at really specific times, right as the strikes were coming in, almost like a Floyd Mayweather kind of big man shoulder roll-esque, where he'd kind of roll with the big punches. So I'm looking at that from Cortez Acosta in the future, just his ability to move his head and kind of bob and swivel when he's fighting these guys who are throwing these big bombs. He automatically called out Aspinall after the fight, so he's ready for the big time fights, it sounds like. And I'm all for it, man. I might pick him against Aspinall after Aspinall's last turnout. So, like I said, Cortez Acosta is a great prospect and somebody to look at, and he's definitely got dynamite in his hands. Moving into the next fight, we had Jack Hermansson against Miktek Orolbai. Now, I thought Jack Hermansson's size, length, and reach was going to be a little bit too much. But Jack Hermansson did have to come into this fight cutting a little bit more weight than he was used to. So I think maybe that affected him. I don't know. I mean, he looked great. Orolbai definitely did not have a height advantage by any record. However, and usually that's a big issue, but however, in this fight, Orolbai was able to really control the pace of the match. He was throwing a lot of swinging overhands that were really connecting with Hermansson, and I thought Hermansson had a chance to kind of stick and move and bob and weave, but that didn't happen because before he knew it, Hermansson was able to drop some bombs. I think it was an overhand right, or no, it was kind of like a straight right that clipped right off of his ear, right, and kind of messed up his equilibrium. kind of put him out almost immediately. He had kind of a scary reaction to it. I think maybe his head was ringing or he was spinning at that point, but he looked like he wasn't having fun in there anymore. So very, very impressive win for Orombai. And this is another guy to definitely keep our eyes on in the future. That was an awesome performance from him. Let's talk about now the next fight, Volkan Ozdemir against Alonzo Menafield. Going into this fight, I thought Alonzo Menafield was going to be a little bit too athletic for Volkan Ozdemir, but Ozdemir proved to us that he didn't have any time, so he had to get him out of there in the first round, and he really went for it. He talked about it in the post-fight press conference where he said that this time around in his fights, he felt like he was sticking just kind of ones and twos out there in his previous fights, but now he wanted to string things together and really get some combos flying. And I think that's really what ended Alonzo Menafield. He had Alonzo Menafield up against the fence. Alonzo Menafield, again, he's got great head movement. He's very athletic and muscular. He can definitely take a punch. He took a few of them. And he was moving a lot. The only problem was the punches kept coming. It was 4, 5, 6 punches. And I think Alonzo Menafield, by the third or fourth punch, thought, okay, he miss. And then, is he going to stop? And then he didn't stop. And then all of a sudden one landed and that was all because, clearly Volkan Ozdemir has some power in those hands. So No Time proves us again why we call him No Time. And he got out of there in a quick victory KO over Alonzo Menafield. Definitely an impressive win. Let's talk about the co-main event of the night. A little bit of a snooze fest. Caught me looking away at times. Machado Gary, to me, definitely got a strong decision victory. There wasn't really much there to argue. Bilal Muhammad was trying over and over again to try to work his takedowns, but I really think the length of Ian Machado Gary was affecting him. He really wasn't able to push him against the fence. He was trying to do like an over-under trip, except for Ian Machado's Gary's shoulder and leg are so far away from each other because of his height. And Bilal Muhammad is more short and stocky, so he's doing this like over-under trip on the leg, and he just wasn't able to get the leverage to kind of get Ian Machado Gary to go down at all. I did see a pre-fight breakdown where somebody said they put $100 on Machado Gary to get a takedown on Bilal Muhammad. I thought that was a little bit crazy. You definitely lost your money on that one. Maybe we tighten our belts on those types of bets. But we definitely picked Ian Machado Gary to win this fight, and it was clearly an easy victory for him. What I have written down in my notes is that he got an eye poke victory. Bilal Muhammad's eyes looked terrible at the end of that fight, and I don't know if it was because of punches or because of fingers and nails and toes and all the things hitting him in the eyeballs. So, that's got to be a little bit frustrating. I really think they got to do something better about the rule protocol involved with eye poking and nut kicking and all these things, fence grabbing, because it's like, to me, it's like, and John Jones says this, it's like, if you're going to let me get away with 1 or 2 or 3, and I'm going to do it because it's going to give me an advantage in a fight because we're fighting. So it's like, these guys are not like, some of them are, right, very, very holistic martial arts, peace guys or whatever. But a lot of these guys are just gritty, tear your eyes out if they have to. The reason why there's rules in MMA is, to curtail some of these things that could be really deadly or effective. Or cause long-term injuries to these fighters. So I think it's just something that needs to be looked at by the MMA as far as a rules committee and something that, needs to change in the future. But, that's another talk for sure. Let's talk about what we're all here to talk about is Arman Tsarukyan against Dan Hooker, as I like to call him, Metal MGK. He definitely lived up to his name of Metal MGK. He was definitely looking very Metal MGK-esque. However, I just think Arman Tsarukyan is just a way better fighter than him. Really, when I'm thinking back, like hindsight 2020, when I'm thinking back to like the build up to this fight and all the shit talk and the headbutts and the blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff, I really, in my heart of hearts, don't think Dan Hooker thought he was going to beat Arman Tsarukyan anywhere. I mean, you know, Tsarukyan basically was able to control Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira, to me, is leaps and bounds better than a Dan Hooker. So this matchup, to me, is really just to set up Tsarukyan against Topuria, right? And that's what we're all looking forward to, because those are the two best guys in the world. And I tell you what, that's a really tough pick for me, because Topuria is super, super impressive on the feet. Tsarukyan is super impressive everywhere. I really liked the little alligator death rolls, or as my frog companion likes to call, the centipede roll, I think she said, during the fight. But there was a couple of times Tsarukyan would go for a takedown and Hooker would go for, I think, a guillotine or a front headlock choke. And Tsarukyan really simply kind of just reverse alligator death rolled right onto his belly, and it was super clean. You don't see a lot of guys, even though it's kind of basic level grappling stuff, you don't see a lot of guys doing these things or having those like thought quick processes and the grappling exchanges the way that Tsarukyan does. Tsarukyan's a short, compact, powerful guy. Hooker was really never able to kind of set the standard on the feet as far as like dictating the pace of the fight or doing what he wanted to do. I think going into this fight, Dan Hooker's kind of game plan was to kind of move around, pick him apart, fight off the takedowns, maybe have to fight off of his feet a couple of times, scramble, move to submissions. But Tsarukyan had an answer for him pretty much everywhere. So I wrote, my note says too easy, next one. So, you know, that's pretty much what that fight was all about. It was just, you know, 5 rounds of dominance. We ended, or I'm sorry, not 5, 2 rounds of dominance, and we ended up getting a submission pretty quickly in the second round with only 2 minutes left in the round. So Arman Tsarukyan definitely dominated that fight everywhere, especially in the grappling exchanges, and Dan Hooker wasn't really ever able to set his footing and get himself going in that fight. This week with our picks, we went 9-5. We had 9 wins, of course, and then 5 losses, and that brings our running total over 2 weeks. I started this at UFC 322. I've never really kept track of my picks, but I think it's really interesting to see how we do. But our running total is 17 wins and 11 losses. Again, I think that moving into this next year, my betting has to be a little bit more with my brain and less with my heart. But I'm doing better and better. When I do want to bet with my heart, my brain kind of intercepts and kind of says, "Are you sure about that?" And then I don't, man, and then I do it anyway. Probably, yeah, for sure. So again, my fight frog of the night on the main card is actually going to go to Horiguchi, man. He beat the dog shit at Ulanbekov, man. He was all over him. That reminded me of like an old school backyard street fight where one dude who was just way smaller and scrappier than another dude who was like, dude, I'm going to mollywop you. And then Horiguchi comes out, just finished him, baby. So my frog dog of the night goes to Horiguchi on that one. Super impressive performance. I hope you guys really enjoyed the fight results and breakdown. I'm going to try to bring more shorts and stuff. I feel like that gets a little bit more engagement. But anything you can do to help out the channel, comment, tell me what your bets are like, give me a like. Just keep in touch, baby. Fight Frogs.